Hello, everybody. Welcome to Simon. First of all, I just want to thank everybody who showed up. I want to thank everybody who's a part of this, and I definitely want to thank the new people who have never been to this channel before and is just coming out to support your favorite streamers, their voice acting. You guys are in for such a show tonight. I am so proud of what I'm about to show you guys. This is going to be amazing, but the past me already made an introduction. So, without further ado, why isn't he dressed like a pirate? That is a different time, Jimmy. Alright, so without further ado, I'm going to start this, and past Nile will give you the rundown on what you're about to watch. In just a second. Mayo here, and before we get into this, I just want to say a few things about it. Number one, thank you to everybody who has been supporting me through this. Amazing performers, you guys are fantastic. I'm so appreciative of all of you. And thank you to everybody who has been giving me feedback on the script and helping me push it as far as it has. Currently, it's a quarterfinalist in Shriekfest Film Festival, which is the biggest horror film festival in the U.S., which I can't believe that that's happening. This thing might actually have a chance. And I'm so excited to show it to you guys. So, what you're about to see is a table read that I've edited with some music to get some good mood into it, and this is kind of a preview of what the movie's going to be like whenever I finally get it made. So, without further ado, sit back, grab some popcorn, dim the lights, have a good time enjoying Simon. Simon, screenplay by Niall Odom. Fade in, interior, hospital, office, day. The clothes and decor tell us this is set in 1923. Sitting behind a desk is Dr. Ryan Combs, top-of-the-line doctor with a rugged face and a hard stare. He takes pride in what he does and is truly married to the job. Across from him, Elizabeth is Soto, a beautiful woman who's been stressed and scared to the core. Bags under her eyes are as clear as her nose, and she's cried away just about every tear she has. Standing in the corner to watch over them is Officer Chaps, an only here because I was paid kind of guy. Clean cut, his age is very apparent.
I'm hearing what you're saying, miss, but I'm telling you I do not believe you.
Elizabeth begins to cry even harder than she was before.
We are willing to help you. All we need is a confession. A reason?
Her hands are trembling at the mere contemplation of what's to come out of this situation if she is not to be believed. However, she refuses to lie.
I've told you everything I know. What more do I have to do to prove my innocence?
Now, if I may interject, sir, I believe this one's got a case of the old broad hysteria something or other.
Elizabeth slams her hands on the arms of the chair and stands up, anger in her eyes. Chaps puts his hand on his gun.
I'm not hysterical! What I'm telling you is real. He is real. The sooner you believe me, the sooner you can get this monster out of my head.
The two men look at each other, then back to Elizabeth. She is overwhelmed with a sudden calm, causing her to sit back down.
I want him out of my head. Death makes him stronger. I want him out of my head. Death makes him stronger. I want him out of my head. Death makes him stronger. I want him out. I want him out!
She brutally and mercilessly knocks herself on the head.
Nurse! Nurse, sedation!
Calm down, miss. We don't want to hurt you.
Ryan slaps his hand away from the gun.
Keep your hands off that thing, for Christ's sake.
I want him out! I want him out! I want him out!
Two nurses rush in and sedate her. She bashes her head against the desk, causing the walls to be painted by a splattering of blood. Exterior, hospital, day. Ryan and Chaps walk out of the doors to meet with Chris Sampson, chief of police. A short and round man with a voice that could put even the calmest of people on edge.
She give you the same possession, malarkey?
I'm afraid so.
Chris takes the last drag of his cigarette and flicks it. Interior, psych ward, padded room. Elizabeth rocks back and forth in a straitjacket.
Out of my head, out of my life, out of my head, out of my life. Inside my head, I have no life. Inside my head, I will make him stronger. Make him stronger. Make him...
Elizabeth turns her head to look straight at us.
You're next.
Interior, dance club, night. Superimpose, present day. In a booth in the corner sits Will along with his two friends. Tyrus, a glasses-wearing, hairy gentleman with long brown hair and a long brown beard. And Jimmy, Tyrus's brother. They look very similar in beards and stature. Jimmy's beard is a lighter color than Tyrus's and his skin is a bit darker. Dance music booms in the background as they speak. A man in a trench coat sits across the bar. The man in the trench coat leans in closer to listen to their conversation.
You guys think we're getting too old for this place?
Oh man, we got like 40 more years, tops.
Who's gonna let 360-year-olds into this place?
I'm sure Jimmy will find a way. Will finishes a sip of his drink, slams his cup on the table. Like Tyrus did today by taking initiative and saving all of our asses.
That's true, man. Cheers.
Aw, shut up, man. It wasn't easy.
I cried more than you did, honestly.
It was definitely heartbreaking, but we'll have another month of not being homeless, so here's to that. They clink their glasses.
To that.
They finish their drinks. An attractive waitress, Tamara, walks up with a plate of hot wings.
Was that a sad group chug or a happy group chug?
They look up and all greet her. Hey,
Hey,
Tamara.
Tamara. Just reminiscing about the good old days.
Had to sell off a prized possession of ours today just to save our asses.
Shit, I might get drunk enough tonight to convince you to steal that thing back.
One of the best adventures ever.
It's just one of those things that happens to everyone at least once, you know?
That's right.
While Will and Tyrus fist bump, Jimmy turns to them and stares wide-eyed and confused.
No, it does not happen to everyone. Has anyone else you know found a life-sized carved wooden statue of a walrus?
The adventure! Not the best roadside treasure ever.
I can't believe you didn't leap out of the car and sprint for it.
Hey, I didn't want to get shot. We were in the middle of nowhere.
Luckily, I'm insane enough to pull over and investigate.
And that's when he saw the
he
sign.
Saw the sign.
That's right.
Will's cell phone rings.
Y'all enjoy. I've got tables.
Bye,
Bye,
Tamara. The man in the trench coat stares straight at them, his eyes glowing a yellowish red for a few short seconds. Tyrus puts his head in his hands.
I swear, if this is who I think it is.
Will's phone displays a name and a number. Heather. I'm really sorry, guys. I gotta go take this. Tyrus reaches for Will's phone and puts it in his pocket. What the fuck? That's not cool!
No, you know what not cool is?
Jimmy crosses his arms. They've been through this before.
Tell him, Tyrus.
2 weeks ago, at the Pudgy Burger, you took a call from Heather that lasted 45 minutes.
We ate without you.
Will leans back in his chair while refilling his mug of beer from the pitcher. Yep, I remember. I was there. He puts the pitcher on the table.
What about 3 weeks ago? You borrowed the car for what was supposed to be 15 minutes? Because of her, you made both of us late to work.
Our shifts were 2 hours apart, man.
She had a family emergency, guys. You don't understand.
She had a family emergency. What the hell were you doing there the whole time?
She needed me!
Where was
her
her
boyfriend?
boyfriend?
Alright, fuck this. Why does this have to happen? We were having a nice time, drinking some drinks, eating some wings. Can you guys just take me home?
What the hell, man? You're just gonna blow us off like that.
Yeah, man, you guys pissed me off. And I have a meeting later.
Who are you meeting up with?
Will drops his face.
Oh, come on.
Seriously? I thought she moved to LA.
She did! She's just back visiting a few friends and she wants to hang out.
Oh, whatever. Sooner or later, you're gonna have to realize you can't keep jumping to her every time she asks for you and more. Just be happy with the relationship you have.
Son of a bitch, did everyone forget how real life works? They blankly stare at each other. What bullshit excuse is Will gonna throw out now? Things look bad, but aren't. People don't always act the same way they normally do. A nice man could be an asshole, and an asshole can do something kind. Will turns his stare towards the other guys. Neither of you have any grounds to judge what is going on simply because of how it looks, so shut the fuck up. He takes a sip of his drink as they stare at him. Logic can be completely and utterly deceiving. Trust me.
Look, what we see tells a pretty straight story, man. Maybe it's because we are on the outside of all this. We talk shit, but we're just worried about you.
Yeah, because she's a whore.
Too much.
Nope.
Enough! Let's just drop it. I'll stay and enjoy the rest of the time I have until I meet up with her.
Alright, I'll buy one last round after this, and then we'll head home. Tyrus, give Will his phone back.
Tyrus tosses the phone over to Will. Will catches the phone and looks at the screen before unlocking it. Will turns on the phone only to be greeted by a flood of missed calls and angry texts. After a pause of consideration, he takes a deep breath and chugs a pint.
We give you a hard time, but it's mostly because we love you, man. We miss you. Just come back to us soon. Even when you're here, you're just off dreaming about some girl you're never going to be with. I know you care about her, but we have your back. All I'm saying is we don't ask for as much in return as she does.
Will thinks for a few moments and reads a few angry texts on his screen. Actually, you know what? They turn their heads in anticipation. Let's stay until closing.
What made you change your mind? Should I even ask?
I'm not gonna question it. To freedom!
To freedom.
To freedom, I guess. I'll go get that last round.
No, I got this. They cheer and clink their glasses. Exterior, suburban street, night. Will stares in complete shock, surrounded by the wreckage of a big red four-seat pickup truck and the torn remains of his two best friends. The car horn is stuck as onlookers begin to crowd the area. A woman is screaming in the distance.
My baby! Oh God, no! Give me my baby back, please! He was just a little girl.
As first responders approach, Will begins to slowly come out of shock and hyperventilate. Interior, twisted hospital, hallway, night. Will awakens on a stretcher completely alone. All nurses and doctors seem to have disappeared and the hospital walls are rusted and destroyed. He grabs his phone from the counter next to him and turns on the flashlight. Sad whimpers of what sounds like a wounded animal echo through the hall. Hello? He shines the phone's flashlight in his face and slapping himself repeatedly in the hopes to wake up. Then he hears the dragging. The dragging of Imo, a man who shares a strong resemblance to Will but is missing the bottom half of his legs. His only method of mobility is dragging his torso with his arms, which feel around rapidly to double as his eyes to make up for the ones that have been gouged out. Will sees the horrific sight and turns around to run. Dead end. Realizing he is trapped in this seemingly shrinking room with this thing and his heart couldn't go any faster. Emo begins to crawl at twice the speed as before and crawls on top of him. You can't win! He is in control now! Will takes off his shoes and begins to hit the creature's head until it is unrecognizable. Will yells as if this agonizing act is taking everything out of him. Battered and bloody, the creature still moves. Why? Interior, Will's apartment, bedroom, day. Will awakens with a jolt and a gasp for air, accompanied by the racing heart of someone who's fallen off a cliff. He hears a knocking on the door and leaps to answer it. Exterior, Will's apartment, day. Gregory Jones, a middle-aged balding man wearing an old but casual suit, stands apprehensively at the door. After a few deep breaths, he knocks. Will opens the door. Gregory frowns despite his best efforts. It's that day, isn't it? Gregory passes Will a piece of paper.
We've definitely got to evict you at the end of the month. I'm sorry. We've tried everything.
Will looks down at the piece of paper before making eye contact with Gregory. Will's eyes well up as he shakes his head. Well, from the moment they died, I knew this would be coming soon. Could never afford this place on my own. Will wipes his eyes.
Yeah, I can imagine. I really am sorry. You three were great to have around.
Gregory gives Will a hug. I really appreciate it, man. Thanks for being so cool to me this whole time. Will watches Gregory walk away. His smile slowly fades. Interior, Will's apartment / bedroom. Evening. Will listens to a comedy podcast and writes in his journal. As he listens, he pulls out some pages of his journal that have already been ripped out and reinserted poorly. 1692. Man burned alive for burning down a school and 4 homes. Last words before death, Zorak is coming. Essex County, Massachusetts. 1952. Woman possessed by what she claims to be a Zorak describes it as a winged 2-legged goat with a perpetually bleeding tongue. West Germany. 1974. Man escapes from a holding area for the criminally insane, murders 14 people in a cul-de-sac with a sawed-off shotgun, draws the word Zorak in blood before shooting himself. Houston, Texas. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Simon Trill. Still no fucking information. Behind that page is a map of the world, with dots linking the locations of the Zorak incidents. Written on the side of the page. No connection? Exterior, cemetery, day. The grave reads, Rachel Cartland. Hey, Mom. He sits down next to the grave in his usual spot. Still has the flattened grass from the last time you visited. Will takes a deep breath and takes out an electric cigarette. Tears start to well up in Will's eyes. I wrote these for you, in case you ran out of stuff to read up there. Maybe some squirrels enjoy poetry around here, either one. As his attempts at humor failed to do the job it always does, hide the pain, he opens the envelope. He places a note on the grass in front of the stone and pierces the bottom of the paper with a stick to pin it in the ground. He stands up and turns to face the grave. I love you, Mom. I miss you. He puts his head down. Hopefully I'll be seeing you soon. Will turns away. Will stops dead in his tracks. Help me. Interior, Will's apartment, bedroom, night. Will is laying on his bed looking through books while talking on the phone. What is he doing this time?
He's just really testy tonight. He went out to the store. Sure, he'll be back soon. Wanted to hear a friendly voice.
Will sighs and glances over to a picture of him and Heather. I'm sure he'll be okay by the time he gets back. We've known him long enough to know that his asshole mode doesn't last long. Remember what my mom used to say? Give them time. If they're worth it, they'll apologize.
I miss your parents. They always had the best advice.
Will looks up to the ceiling. Yeah, me too.
Do you still talk to anyone else in your family?
Frankly, I don't think they even know if I'm alive. But I think that's for the best.
I hope you're right. Seriously, though, how have you been? We haven't really talked much since the accident.
I know, I just had a lot of thinking to do and some tough choices to make.
Well, whatever you do, please keep in touch. Oh, I know you're okay.
Will stays quiet.
Will?
Don't worry, I promise. Will puts a pen in his journal and closes it.
Okay. Have a good night.
You too, Heather. And thanks for everything. Will hangs up the call before placing the phone down on his nightstand. The light shut off. Interior, Will's apartment, living room, day. The living room is trashed. A few bits of decor and furniture are surrounded by clothing and takeout containers. Will sits down on the worn couch, sparks a joint, and turns on the television. He mindlessly flips through the channels before a certain headline catches his eye. Insert. News headline. Man found dead in Sparrow Street alleyway. Victim seemed to have been beaten to death with a shoe identifiable by track marks on his face. Will turns the volume up. Insert news anchor explaining the situation.
The victim was so badly beaten, the face was almost unrecognizable, almost causing the case to be a UID. However, the victim's wallet was found nearby and was revealed to be...
Will turns off the television and stares in shock. He lifts himself off the couch and drops the joint in an ashtray. Interior, Will's apartment, bathroom, day. Will goes to the sink to wash his face. He studies himself in the mirror for a good long while before opening the mirror to access the medicine cabinet behind it. He grabs some anxiety pills and shuts the door, mirror returning to his face. Will turns to leave and shuts the lights off. The darkness illuminates a shadowy creature with a bright, crooked smile staring through the mirror. Interior, Will's apartment, living room, day. Will returns to the couch and grabs a box from under the coffee table. The box contains a long rope and a few pieces of paper. Interior, Will's apartment, bedroom, day. Will uses a chair to reach his ceiling fan and ties the rope around it. He begins reading the directions of tying a noose out loud as he does his best to follow them. He sits down and looks through his contacts, stops on the suicide hotline. He takes a deep breath and presses the call button. He casually smokes his joint and takes a sip of water while the line rings. Will notices the line has stopped ringing. Hello?
You have reached the Suicide Prevention Hotline.
Will jumps at the unexpected volume of the automated voice.
If you are a veteran or calling about one, press 1 now.
The line rings again. A very nice-sounding lady answers the phone.
Hello? Who am I talking to?
Will. My name is Will, and right now I'm sitting under a noose. Interior, Suicide Hotline answering office, day. Melissa Fox, a slender woman with brown hair and a kind face, is on the headset talking to Will.
Alright, first thing I'd really like you to do is take some deep breaths. Can you do that for me?
Listen, I've been running from something for a very long time. Just can't do it anymore. I want it to be known that my last words to everyone are, I love you and I'm sorry. Can you do that? Melissa snaps her fingers and flags her coworkers down to call the police.
Will, can you do me a favor and listen to a few quick things I want to say to you?
I won't hurt anyone else. Thank you very much. He hangs up the phone and stands on the chair. He secures the noose around his neck and takes one last deep breath. He kicks the chair away, dropping his body and pulling the ceiling fan down, causing it to fall directly on his head. He lies motionless as someone knocks on the door. Interior, Twisted Hospital, hallway, night. Will Hazley wakes up, his arm strapped to a wheelchair and being pushed by someone he can't see. The hospital walls are cracked and decaying. Corpses lay on the ground and hang from the lights on the ceiling. What? No, no! I'm supposed to be free, damn it! The chair takes a sharp left turn down a hallway filled with doctors and nurses. They are standing in a line on both sides of him, staring as he rolls by. Their eyes are completely white. The doctors and nurses turn to ash and disappear as the lights suddenly shut off. The area goes dead quiet, except for some rattling chains in the distance. The chains get louder and louder as Will pushes himself back in his chair, squeezing his eyes shut. From the doors burst forth the Twisted Doctor, a walking shadow with a combination of pus and blood pouring from its mouth, dressed as a doctor. No! It lunges at Will and stabs him in the neck with a syringe. Interior, nightmare hallway, night. Will wakes up on the floor with a flashlight in his hands. As he looks around trying to make sense of everything, he hears a yell from behind him, a yell that is only summoned by severe pain. He desperately attempts to hold on to his flashlight as he slowly walks down a dark hallway. His breathing is rapid, with tears streaming down his face, formed from eyes that have seen the unimaginable. He tries his best to stay as quiet as possible, listening for its footsteps. Someone screams in the distance. A crack of lightning reveals that a silhouette is uncomfortably close. He crouches behind a fallen dresser and turns off his light. The silhouette shambles its way down the hallway as lightning cracks once more. The light from the windows illuminate the hallway for a quick second, revealing the roped man. The creature has a broken leg and a mangled, useless arm. Wrapped around its face, neck, and chest are thick ropes so tight that they are tearing through the creature's flesh. The sight of the creature leaves with the lightning as it draws closer and closer to Will. Silence. Will peeks his head out as the lightning reveals the creature is way too close. He covers his mouth and closes his eyes, trying desperately to control his frantic breathing. One last flash reveals that the creature is standing right next to him. What do you want? The creature leans in close, its cold, dead eyes reflecting Will's terrified expression. Suddenly, it slowly begins to rip in two, as if being carved without anyone touching it. The two halves fall to reveal the face of a demon. His skin is dry and cracked. Occasionally, small bits of flesh flake off of his face. His eyes are a burning mixture of red and yellow. His smile is one that would make the devil himself cringe. His trench coat is littered with the remains of various creatures. Chicken's feathers, toes and fingers, pig ears and beaks. This is Simon Trill.
You're not a good listener.
Will is paralyzed.
I told you what you were going to do for me. I can make you suffer. Your pathetic escape attempt failed you. You're not dead. You're still mine.
Hanging Wills drop from the ceiling and begin to laugh at him as they swing back and forth.
Now wake!
Exterior, Heather and Jacob's house, night. Superimposed 3 weeks later. Heather's car pulls up into the driveway. Will steps out of the passenger seat and heads to the trunk. Heather playfully runs around and opens the trunk before him.
I've got the bags. Go inside and make yourself at home.
Will looks at her and smiles. Thanks for everything. You guys letting me stay here really means a lot. He takes a small journal out of one of his bags before Heather picks it up.
That's the only thing you're carrying. So get inside.
She begins to grab the bags. Interior, Heather and Jacob's house, living room, night. Hung on the wall are a picture of Heather and her fiancé, Jacob Mason, a muscular man with blonde hair and a soul patch who seems to enjoy preppy polo shirts a bit too much. More than a few of the pictures depict all three of them hanging out and having a great time. There are very few pictures depicting only Will and Jacob. Will notices one picture on the small table of Will and Heather making faces together. He can't help but smile as he looks at it. A loud bark, followed by the frantic running of 4 paws, draws closer and closer to Will. Will turns towards the noise and smiles even bigger. A black miniature schnauzer comes running in and greets Will in a very excited way. Nora! Hey, girl! Will pets the dog. Jacob calls from a distance.
Is that Will I hear?
Will takes a deep breath and puts on a fake smile. How's it going, man? Will extends his hand for a handshake. How have you been? Heather walks in and stands in between them.
A pain in the ass?
Jacob puts his arm around her.
I'm only trying to be like you.
Heather opens her mouth in a fake surprise and gasps.
You dick.
They kiss. Will averts his eyes and pretends to admire the decor.
How was the ride from Carlsbad?
It was good. Not a lot of traffic.
Aw, I'm glad to have you back. Now get those bags put up. We're having steaks tonight.
Heather does a fake salute.
You got it, babe.
Heather leads Will down the hall to the guest bedroom. Jacob and Nora head into the kitchen.
Don't be late.
Will is following Heather, who is holding his bags. Can I please hold the bag?
Nope.
Interior, Heather and Jacob's house, guest bedroom, night. Will follows Heather into a bare-walled guest room with a lone poster of a moose. Heather throws the bags on the bed. What's with the moose?
Well, we haven't had many guests in the guest room and never got around to decorating the place.
But you made sure to hang up the moose. Will sits down.
Found it while digging around boxes. And he's cute. You want me to take it down?
No, I like mooses. Heather sits down next to him.
I think it's meese.
What? Maybe mice? They share a chuckle. Yeah, that's taken, huh?
We're both over 20 and don't even know the plural for moose. That's pathetic.
Will's face turns serious, and he looks to the ground in disappointment. Well, I am the guy who's too stupid to successfully hang himself. Heather turns serious.
Hey, don't think like that. You went and got yourself help afterward. That's all that matters. If anyone was killed right in front of me, let alone 2 of my closest friends, I wouldn't be handling it nearly as good as you. I'd be surprised if you weren't hearing voices.
I suppose you've got a point.
By the way, everything happened so fast that we never got the chance to really talk about Jim and Tyrus. I mean, we did, but I didn't know you blamed yourself so much for this.
Will looks down. He can't keep eye contact.
And I hope you know none of that was your fault. I know you. I'm sure you did everything you could.
No, I didn't. That little girl is dead because of me. If they just would have listened to me, those parents wouldn't have lost their child.
Well, I don't know what to...
And you know what else I found out? The parents killed themselves 3 days later. I saw it on the news in the facility.
Well, none of it was your fault. You begged them not to drive. You were too drunk to do any more than you did.
Then how is it not my fault? Interior, Heather and Jacob's house, dining room, night. Jacob sets down a plate of steak and mashed potatoes in front of Heather, Will, and on the floor for Nora. Jacob places his own plate in front of him.
All right, everyone.
Everyone starts eating after Jacob begins.
Well, you're coming with me on Thursday to run a few errands.
Sounds good. Where are we going?
San Diego. I only have, one thing to do there. I don't want to drive alone.
Jacob has plans, I'm assuming?
Nah. That's best friend business. I'm not making a 5-hour drive in traffic unless it's a matter of life and death.
Heather is noticeably annoyed.
Besides, we all know I can't take that away from you. She didn't even have to check if you were busy.
Heather drops her fork and covers her mouth to talk with food in it.
Oh my god, I'm sorry. You have plans?
Well, I bet he doesn't anymore. Huh, Will?
Will smiles and clears his throat. Interestingly enough, I'm inviting several hundred of my best friends for a stripper and coke party. Heather and Will laugh while Jacob chuckles under his breath.
That's a no, then.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll be free. An awkward moment of silence passes by. So, when's the wedding date again?
July 17th.
Oh, that's awesome. I can't wait.
No, I'm sorry, babe. I have to change the date. I've got a job to do. Me and my team are breaking ground on that new apartment building in West Hollywood.
When did this happen?
The other day, got a call on the way to Stacey Perry's party.
That was 2 weeks ago.
Will glances down to Nora, who has the same awkward look as he does.
When were you planning on telling me?
Jacob cocks his head to the side.
Right now? It's a good thing we haven't reserved anything yet, huh?
Jacob chuckles. Heather holds her tongue and glances down at her plate. Will looks over to her. Once she notices, she puts on the same smile as before.
So, well, did you meet any cute girls when you were up there?
In the facility?
I mean, anything's possible, right?
Yeah, I was popular there. A little hard to pick up women with your arms tied behind your... Will's demeanor changes as he notices a tall, shadowy, demonic figure in the window. He's engulfed in black smoke. It's Simon. Will's eyes widen, then he immediately looks down.
Is something wrong?
Will's world is spinning. Yeah, I mean, no. Well, I'm sorry. I'm just really tired. I think I'm gonna head in for a shower. He picks up his plate.
Don't worry about the plates, man. I got them tonight.
Will drops the plate back down and rushes to his room. Jacob shrugs his shoulders in confusion.
We aren't talking right now.
Don't start with me.
Jacob picks up his plate and walks away. Interior, Heather and Jacob's house, hallway, night. Nora barks furiously at the bathroom door. Jacob comes running up to her.
What in the hell's going on, girl?
He bends down to pick her up and she snaps at his hand.
Fuck! Fine, you little shit.
He turns towards the bedroom.
Heather, come calm the dog. She's going crazy.
Interior, Heather and Jacob's house, shower, night. Will is holding his head while sitting under the water in the shower, whispering to himself. You aren't safe. You can't run, not strong enough, never strong enough. You're mine. I'm yours. I'm yours. Will begins to hyperventilate. Interior, Heather and Jacob's house, guest bedroom, night. Will writes in his journal while laying on his bed. His phone chimes. Message reads, time for meds. Will begins searching for his medicine bottles. Come on, come on. He looks up with fear. Shit! Exterior, Heather and Jacob's driveway, night. Will walks out of the front door and realizes Heather's car is gone. Son of a bitch. Will turns around and goes back inside. Interior, Heather and Jacob's house, living room, night. On the wall facing the front door is a note. Insert. Left for an emergency call. We'll be back tomorrow. Will goes back into his room. Interior, Heather and Jacob's house, guest bedroom, night. Will opens his phone to make a call. No signal. Will drops the phone on the mattress in frustration and lays back on the bed. After taking a deep breath, he turns off the light. Simon watches him from the edge of the bed, only visible in the darkness. Interior, Heather and Jacob's house, dining room, morning. Will and Jacob are sitting at a table eating some bacon and eggs with a side of tension so thick you couldn't cut it with a cleaver. Will distracts himself by staring mostly at his plate and writing in his journal.
You get any sleep last night?
Yeah, I got some. Just left my medication in Heather's car.
Oh shit. How long can you stay off of it?
About a couple of days.
We might be cutting it close, but can you wait till tomorrow night? She got called in for another shift.
That should be alright. They sit in silence, listening to the sounds of the morning.
Well, I got you here. I want to apologize.
Will looks up.
I know that ever since Heather and I, we've never really been the same, you and I. I also know it's very easy for me to be a dick to those who don't deserve it.
Will looks down at the table as he listens. Why are you saying all this now?
I don't know. I know I'm not perfect. I know that you feel I should be a better man to Heather, and I know how much you care about her. But it's been us three since the beginning. I don't want anything to change that.
Will's face grows stern. It's okay, man. I'm sorry for getting on your case those times. It's you guys' relationship, and I have no business judging it. Jacob looks him in the eye.
You're a good friend, Will. We don't want to lose you.
They hug.
Well, my ride's waiting for me outside. I'll see you around.
See you later, man. We can hang out then. I get back from my new outpatient thing around 1.
Sounds good.
He shuts the door. Interior, outpatient facility, front desk, day. Will is second in line to sign himself in. To bide his time, he looks at the posters around the wall. Insert posters that read, "Never give up. You are worth it. The only thing to fear is fear itself, and people will be rude. Forgive them anyway. People will be jealous. Be successful anyway. Years of work can be easily destroyed in a short amount of time. Work anyway. Some people will betray you. Love anyway." The patient in front of him signs her name and walks away. Will steps up to the counter to see Mrs. Broussard, a tired woman who isn't quite looking forward to taking notes and phone calls all day, but still loves what she does. Helps those who are lost to find their way.
Well, I'm surprised to see you in the late line and on your first week.
Yeah, well, the idiot who set the alarm to PM instead of AM.
What did we decide to work on?
He takes a deep breath in a mock classroom tone. Don't call myself an idiot.
That's right. Go ahead and sign your name. We are still in the first group.
Will signs his name and hands the pen back to her. Thanks, Mrs. Broussard. He walks away from the window and into the main hall.
Have a good one now.
Interior, outpatient facility, group therapy room. Miss Henderson, a very smart professional, kind as can be woman, leads the group of 7. Will sits in his chair, listening intently as Miriam, a young woman wearing sweatpants and a hoodie, continues her topic of the day.
I found out that the day he first started cheating on me was the same day he hit me.
Miriam's eyes start to water along with sounds of sympathy all over the room. Will is visibly furious with a tight fist and his leg uncontrollably shaking.
Miriam, I am so sorry for what you are going through. I want you to take a moment, take a deep breath, and look all around this room.
Miriam does as instructed.
Before you go on, I want you to remember, everyone is here for you. I am here for you.
Tommy, a man challenged with autism, raises his hand.
What did you feel like after you found out?
Lost. Betrayed. Stupid for ever thinking staying with him after the fight would be a good idea.
Does anyone have any constructive advice for Miriam?
Will raises his hand.
Will?
Will leans forward and looks Miriam in the eye. Miriam, I promise you everything I'm about to say is something I'd want said to me, okay?
Okay.
You don't deserve this. The room fills with sounds of agreement. I know I don't know you very well, nor do I know that asshole. Sorry, Miss Henderson.
It's all right.
From what I do know, I can tell you're an amazing person. Why you think you deserve this treatment is beyond me, but it would be hypocritical to say I've never done anything like that before. There's a better world outside of this relationship you're stuck in. You deserve to see it. When she sees tears forming in Will's eyes, Miriam is unable to control her crying.
I know. I know, thank you so much.
You're not mad?
No, not at all.
Will gets up to hug her. She hugs him back and stays there for a while. Everything's gonna be okay. The room applauds. Interior, outpatient facility, hallway. The other 6 patients leave the room before Will does. Miss Henderson stops him on his way out.
You know, Will, we all loved your contributions to the group. But it's been a while since you've shared anything with us.
He avoids eye contact and rubs the back of his head. I know, I just don't want to take up time that could be used to help someone else. Miss Henderson puts her hand on his shoulder, persuading Will to make eye contact.
You are important, Will. I know there's things you want to talk about. I just want you to open up. Maybe next week.
Yeah, next week.
Dr. Azir is available if you want to talk to him, okay? I think it would be really beneficial.
Interior, outpatient facility, therapist's office, day. Will sits on a couch while Dr. Azir, a man with graying hair and a clipboard, sits across from him on an armchair. So, how are you today? Dr. Azir laughs, forcing a smile on Will. What? What's so funny?
Oh, it's nothing, Will. Just you're the only one who ever starts these sessions by asking me how I'm doing. It's very appreciated.
My pleasure, Doc.
Remember, we're here to talk about you.
Will nods.
How are you liking it here? Good first day?
Will sinks back. It's good. Very welcoming.
I'm very glad to hear that. We love having you. So, what's on your mind?
After losing the battle between staying quiet and speaking his mind, he takes a deep breath. I don't know what's real anymore. Dr. Zero raises his eyebrows.
Well, that's certainly a problem.
Tell me about it. My nightmares have gotten so bad lately. Sometimes I can't tell if I'm awake or asleep. Obviously, during the really weird moments, I'm asleep, but they feel so real. Not only that, but who's to say what's real is real? Dr. Azir takes some notes down on his clipboard.
These are some scary thoughts. How are you processing these?
Very patiently.
What are the dreams about?
Demons, monsters, one puppet master to orchestrate it all. Since all of my dreams start with me waking up in the dream, it's a weird thought, but it feels like my mind is purposely trying to confuse me.
According to most dream specialists, chase dreams are nothing more than a manifestation of fear and stress in your waking life. Think of it as a personality test. Ask yourself who is chasing you, so that you can gain a better understanding and insight on the source of your fears and anxieties.
Will is lost in thought, trying his best to process this information.
Just remember, dreams can't hurt you. If you keep a dream journal, it may help you understand what these monsters represent. Everything has a meaning.
From the looks of what's in there, I certainly hope not. But I will definitely give it a try.
Great. Okay. Now there's one more subject I want to touch up on before you head out.
Will's face turns serious. He knows what's coming.
How long has it been since you've heard from Simon?
Interior, Heather and Jacob's house. Guest room, day. Will lays down on the bed and puts his headphones in to listen to some music. Deep breaths. The music breaks up and becomes distorted. Will picks up his phone and the screen seems to be frozen. He tries to turn it off without success. Suddenly, the screen turns off. Will looks closely before the screen turns back on to a photo of a man hanging from a rope. Jacob. Terrified, Will starts swiping through the photos of Jacob taken from different angles. Drawn in his forehead are the numbers 0539295. The final picture on the roll has a figure in the background. As Will squints his eyes to take a closer look, he realizes it's Simon. The lights cut out. Interior, twisted house, empty room, night. The room is completely dark. All Will can hear is his heavy breathing until a match sparks right in front of Will's face. The match floats to the end of a cigar hanging out of the mouth of a haunting figure, Simon. Only when he takes a drag is when Will can get a good view of the demon's face, smiling ear to ear. Simon, no. No, no!
Don't you ever learn?
What the hell do you want? He takes a big puff on the cigar.
Everything you don't. You're going to give it to me.
Why won't you just kill me now?
No shortcuts. I'm not here to kill you. I'm here to hurt you. You refuse to listen. So, fine.
Will looks up at Simon.
I'll do it myself.
Simon's smile grows bigger.
Besides, you need me.
Will's eyes widen in shock and anger, then shut hard and tight using his hands to cover them. No.
I've never liked that Jacob guy.
Will gets angry. What the fuck did you do?
I already showed you. And believe me,
Simon leans in closer.
we've only just started.
Simon dissolves into smoke, and Will can't see a thing. Oh shit, shit! Will activates the flashlight on his phone. Jacob! Interior, twisted house, hallway, night. Will looks around, the room's completely changed. He is now in a doorless hallway dressed with disturbing and horrific paintings. What the fuck? Each painting depicts acts of gruesome torture and murder. Will turns around as he hears a gurgling noise from someone or something desperately trying to breathe. Who are you? At the end of the hall is a silhouette of what appears to be a figure with no arms. With a flicker of a light, It's gone. In a flash, the roped man appears directly in front of him. Will stumbles to the ground, frozen and terrified. The roped man spits out the rope in its mouth. Black liquid falls from its mouth as he speaks. It's coming. He's angry. He's coming. He's angry. The lights flicker on and off. It disappears within touching distance. Then the phone flashlight shuts off. Will gets up, drops the phone. Leave me the fuck alone! He frantically fumbles forward and reactivates the flashlight. Will searches for anyone. There is no one in sight. He walks down the hallway, slow and cautious. The only sounds that can be heard are the creaking of Will's footsteps and the whistling of the wind. He gets to the end of the hall and hears the hauntingly familiar sounds of gurgling and twisting rope. As he turns around, the light illuminates the roped man, sprinting towards him full speed, and tackles him through the door into what looks to be a prison. Interior, twisted prison, cell block, night. Will screams and attempts to throw the monster off. Help me! Help me! Help me! Will yells as the creature's black liquid saturates him. With a strong push, Will manages to shove the rope man off. Simon then grabs the rope man by the neck and throws it against the wall. The rope man wails and writhes wildly as Simon grabs all the rope ends and slowly begins to pull while laughing at the agony-fueled whimpers of this once terrifying creature. The rope man splits apart like a block of cheddar wrapped in cheese wire, spraying the surroundings in blood. Simon turns to face Will and smiles while licking his lips. Will turns around and sprints out the nearest door. Interior, nightmare pit room, night. Will runs out of the hall, ducks into a room with a single metal grate bridge leading to another door, atop a seemingly bottomless pit. On the left and right of the bridge are what appear to be clones of Will hanging by nooses. Will stops and stares, wide-eyed. The walls ooze blood that begins filling up the room. The clones awake and begin to cackle at Will as he makes his way over the bridge. Will finds himself crossing the bridge over and over in a loop. With each cycle, the blood gets higher and darker. The laughing clones begin to fall one by one. Will sprints faster and faster until he stops and notices that one clone remains. It's your fault! It's all your fault! It's all your fault! You aren't real! Once the final clone falls, Will hears a car engine and emerges into... Interior, Heather and Jacob's house, master bedroom, night. Jacob hangs from the rafters. He dangles from a rope. Holy shit. Heather opens the door and sees what happened. Her eyes drain of emotion. Exterior, Heather and Jacob's house, night. Heather weeps as she sits on the front steps. She holds Nora with a blanket wrapped around her. Officer Dawn, a female officer with brown hair and a slim figure, and Officer Kevin, a male officer with a bald head and a beard, are talking to Heather while taking notes with a pen and paper. Will paces around as he smokes his electric cigarette with his phone to his ear.
And he's never talked about doing something like this before?
No, sir. I mean, he's been a bit more aggressive lately. That's it.
Officer Kevin is writing in his notepad.
Now that I think of it, he has been a little sad recently. Oh God, I should have been there for him.
She starts crying even harder. The officer leans down and places her hand on her shoulder.
You can't blame yourself for this. Most people who do what he did won't let others know before they do. You did everything you could. Was there anyone else in the house when this happened? This is very important for us to know.
Heather thinks for a second.
No, Will was with me at work. He kept himself entertained in the car. We both came home, walked in and saw him.
Officer Kevin finishes writing on a page and flips over to the next. He writes something down, rips it out, and hands it to her.
This is the number to one of the best therapists I know. Her name is Dr. Ashley. Just in case you want to talk to someone about all of this. Hang in there.
Officer Don nudges him.
I mean, just stay strong.
It's okay. I know what you meant. Thank you so much, officers.
Officer Kevin tips his hat to her and walks over to Will. Officer Don sits down beside Heather.
How are you doing?
Will is visibly shaking with tears running down his face. Hanging in there. Officer Kevin shoots Officer Don a subtle, "See? He said it too," look. The officer takes a deep breath while nodding in agreement.
You two are gonna get through this. Just take care of each other.
We will. Thanks, officers. The officer pats him on the shoulder and walks to his car. As Will watches him walk back, he notices Simon standing behind the crowd, watching. Interior, Heather and Jacob's house. Living room, night. Heather slams the door after Will walks inside.
What happened?
Will turns around, slightly confused.
What happened?
I told you, I have no idea.
No idea? Yes, you did! I know you better than you know yourself, and you're fucking lying!
Nora barks. Will's face drops in shame. Heather takes a swing at Will, cracking him in the face.
Tell me! My fucking fiance is dead? You know something I don't. Tell me!
Heather, you're in shock.
Tell me! Tell me!
She keeps hitting him. Will shouts back, "You wouldn't believe me if I did! No one will. No one has. Whenever I did tell someone, they lock and drug me up, so drop it!" Heather goes into the kitchen, and Will hears things getting knocked over. She comes back with a gun. Nora runs away as Will puts his hands up. Put down the gun.
Will, I swear, if you don't tell me, I will shoot you! So help me, Will! I will kill you right now!
Will walks over to comfort her.
Don't touch me!
Heather, please, give me the gun. Heather clutches the gun even harder, points it at Will. Heather, please. She tosses the gun away and heads into the room Will was sleeping in and locks the door. Will slides down the wall and puts his head in his hands. Interior, Heather and Jacob's house, living room, night. Will sits on the couch after hearing a bang on the nearby window. He rushes over and opens it. Looking left to right, he sees nothing out of the ordinary. Will closes the window and begins walking back to the couch. Before he can reach it, severed head of an elephant crashes through the window. He screams, falls on his ass, and looks down the hall. Heather? Will peeks behind his curtains to see disfigured creatures wearing black robes, jumping up and down in place. In front of them is a pile of sticks and hay. Someone is tied to a stick in the middle of it. The hill of sticks trail off and surround the house. He notices there are far more creatures than he realized surrounding the building, each with different shaped fleshy stumps protruding from their necks. They are side by side surrounding the building. They are all chained together with shackles on their waists. Will takes a closer look and notices the man holding a torch is Simon. Simon climbs the mountain of sticks and removes the bag off the person tied to the stick. It's Heather. She screams for Will, begging for her life. Will's eyes widen, involuntarily catatonic. Simon lights the sticks, cackling an echo demonic laugh. Will quickly gets away from the window and runs out the front door into another room. Interior, nightmare house, living room, night. There is nothing but darkness. Will tries his phone light. Nothing happens. His room looks just like the living room, but as if it's been left underwater for 50 years after being set on fire. What the hell? Suddenly he hears the rattling and dragging of chains. They get louder, louder, louder. The noises give way to silence. Oh, great. A burning Heather bursts through the door to Will's left, screaming and flailing while illuminating the room. She tackles Will and starts to singe his skin. They scream as Will watches Heather's face melt onto his.
You did this! You did this! You did this!
Interior, Heather and Jacob's house, living room, day. Will jumps up from the couch from his sleep in a panic. The demonic voices appear in his head. He clutches his chest and hyperventilates. Heather is standing next to the couch with a hardened look in her eyes, holding the journal.
Tell me more about Simon.
Will looks worried.
Is Simon this Zorak?
But Heather, you...
Don't worry. I know you. You would never do something like this. And he would never do this to himself. I just need to know the truth. If there's any chance that Jacob was murdered and he didn't kill himself, I'm willing to listen to whatever it takes. Will, what happened?
Will sits up. I need you to keep an open mind. Will throws his eyes to the edge of the couch. Heather sits. It was Woodland Maple Cemetery. Exterior, Woodland Cemetery. Day. Flashback. I was visiting Mom's grave a few months ago. I needed to talk to her after everything that happened. I like to go at night, more peaceful, intimate. From the distance, Will hears Simon. Simon's voice sounds a lot less menacing and more like a hoarse whisper. Suddenly, a voice called me. I was so confused and scared. I felt as if I had no choice but to find it. Will is wandering around in pursuit of the voice. Eventually, he comes up to a grave. Simon A. Trill, 1874 to 1925.
Can you actually hear me?
Will kneels down to the grave. Yes, how is this happening?
Will you help me?
Will looks around. How can I help you?
Please.
I felt terrible. The voice sounded terrified. Helpless. Yes, I will. What can I do? The world darkens around him. Corpses appear, hanging from and climbing the trees, leering at Will from the top with glowing eyes. Will turns around after hearing a twig snap and is stunned by what he sees. A legless corpse on the ground with shears in its eyes crawls towards Will. The creature has a chain on its neck, being held by the roped man using his one good arm. Simon appears above his grave. Will turns around and Simon grabs his shoulders. Simon opens his mouth and extends his snake-like tongue as it turns into smoke, forcing Will to inhale it against his will. Will breaks free and sprints towards the street in a panic while looking behind him. From what little research I was able to do, I guess that's when he attached himself to me. Always watching, always smiling. And ever since that day, it had me. Interior, Heather and Jacob's house, living room day. Heather holds Nora as she sits with Will.
Is he a spirit?
Spirit, demon, who knows? He's been haunting me for a lack of a better term. People get hurt. I think that's what happened to Jacob.
He's powerful, that's for sure.
While the cops were talking to you, I was listening to a voicemail. It was given the wrong medication. Heather cocks her head.
How does the medication keep him away?
I have no clue, but right now I have no idea how to keep us safe. Heather stands up, takes a few steps. Will grabs her hand.
No,
What?
you're not leaving. I know you. I need you here. I don't care what danger I might be in. You're not leaving.
Will wipes tears from his eyes. They hug.
Where else can we learn about the Simon guy?
I saw online the library a couple blocks away has a book that mentions him. We could start there.
Come on then.
Interior, book aisle, library, day.
Okay. Let's learn all we can about this son of a bitch and hopefully get some answers.
Heather looks Will up and down.
What's up with you?
I think I'm fine. It's just been a lot recently.
Tell me about it.
She starts looking through the shelf. I don't know why the hell things are so erratic lately. Sun has been bad before, but never like this. An old woman walks into the aisle after noticing Will.
Oh, hello, dearie. It's so good to see you again. Are you feeling better?
Will and Heather stare at each other, then back at her. Yes, I am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, don't go bumping your head again.
She walks off. Heather looks to Will.
Do you know her?
Not in the slightest. She seems nice, though. Heather finds the book she's looking for.
Moving on.
Heather grabs the book and brings it to the reading area. Interior, reading area, library, continuous.
I just want to find out if there's a way to kick its ass and how to do it. Sorry I pulled a gun on you.
Will chuckles. Well, I can honestly say I wasn't expecting it. I understand. No need to apologize. I'm sorry all of this is happening. You don't deserve any of this, and none of it would have happened if it weren't for me. It's all because of me. It's all my fault.
Found it.
They both scoot closer together to read.
Alright. Simon A.
Will's phone makes a noise.
Seriously?
Sorry about that. Will puts his phone on the table after silencing it.
Alright.
Interior, Chicago hotel room. Day. Henry, a man in a three-piece suit and sporting a long period-style mustache, finishes hacking a naked woman to bits with a hatchet as she hangs chained to a wall. Upon watching the remainder of the body fall from the chained limbs, he turns towards a naked man strapped to a table.
Your turn.
He leans down real close to the restrained man's face.
Please, sir. I've done what you asked. I have children. They need me.
Henry takes a deep breath, stands up. The restrained man watches in horror and suspicion as the mustached man unties him and sits in a chair.
I can leave, yeah?
Henry lights a pipe.
Bless you, sir, bless you!
The restrained man flies through the door to a Chicago hotel, Spike Fit, day, and falls into a bed of spikes, piercing his entire body. Corpses of previous victims surround him. Chicago, room, day. Henry walks over to a locked trunk and opens it, revealing a woman in a tattered, expensive dress.
Henry, darling.
Hello, love. Did you miss me?
The woman fights back tears.
Of course. I love.
Henry kneels down.
Then why are you crying?
The woman looks down, terrified.
You need more attention, don't you?
She looks at him with wide, pleading eyes. He picks her up out of the trunk and carries her through a hidden door in the wall.
Many believe this sort of behavior ran in the family, as it was speculated that Simon was the bastard child of Holmes himself, rumored to have been born through the rape of a captive woman who managed to escape Holmes's grasp.
The woman screams from behind the wall.
Until he found her whereabouts, and her child.
Woman's home, night, 1890 Chicago. The woman that was in the trunk is holding a sleeping baby while reading a book. Someone knocks on the door. The woman hikes up the baby as she heads to the door.
Yes?
Hello, miss. There's been a terrible accident out here. We need assistance fast.
The woman thinks for a second.
I'm no doctor, sir.
I am, miss. We need just a room to operate. Please, miss, the child is bleeding to death.
She opens the door to reveal a clean-shaven man with a top hat and a suit.
I'm sorry, miss.
A flintlock fires from beside the door, piercing the good doctor's skull. Henry walks into frame.
Darling.
Henry raises a hatchet.
He was supposedly kidnapped at the age of 1 and went missing for 18 years. Simon A. Trill traveled to San Francisco at the age of 19 and started gruesomely murdering victims he found visiting cemeteries.
Exterior, cemetery, day, 1912. An elderly woman is seen crying over a grave, holding a bouquet of flowers.
I'm sorry for your loss, miss.
The woman turns to see Simon, clean-shaven, dressed fedora and coat, friendly eyes. She hugs him and begins to sob even harder. Simon puts an arm around her. Interior, elderly woman's house, night. The elderly woman is thrown onto the floor, covered in blood and still barely breathing, with a freshly slit throat from seconds before.
He then took to murdering those visiting the grave sites of his previous victims.
Exterior, cemetery, day, 1913. A new grave is next to the one the elder lady was visiting. A young man is kneeling down in front of it. Simon walks up, puts his hand on the boy's shoulder. Interior, library reading area, day.
Upon the discovery of his journal, questions really began to rise.
She flips through the pages. Will is staring blankly, uneasy and nervous.
Simon Trill's journal was filled cover to cover with disturbing drawings, nonsensical writings, and, most eerie of all, warning. He spoke of an ancient demon referenced in common bizarre cases. Here are a few entries.
Will grabs the book from Heather. She shoots him a concerned look. Exterior, San Francisco Street, night, 1950. Simon is walking down the street. He stops in his tracks as he hears a noise. He turns around to investigate.
Hello?
Nothing. Feeling uneasy, he turns back and hurries his pace down the road. Simon. Simon turns. His eyes grow wide. His mouth falls agape. The color drains from his face. Interior, Simon's home, night. We see Simon moving oddly on the way in. He falls and writhes in pain on the floor. His eyes dilate as he grabs a dinner knife from the table. Interior, Wilson's asylum, padded cell, night. Simon is rocking back and forth, smiling with tears down his face to the sounds of mad screams and wails in the distance. Interior, library reading area, day. Will stares blankly at the page for a moment.
Some say his Zorok demon has moved on from one person to the next.
As she reads, Will's mind checks out, staring blankly at the book as Heather's voice begins to drown out.
Will?
The world starts switching from normal to the shadowy, dark world that Will is all too familiar with.
Well, what's wrong?
Will gets up and begins to storm out of the library. I need air. Will turns a corner to find the orchestrator of this nightmare standing in front of him. Will screams and drops to the floor, covering his eyes. Only after silently reminding himself none of this is real can he uncover his eyes. He looks up to see another librarian in Simon's place. Heather runs over and picks him up. Another librarian runs over to assist.
Oh my, is he okay? Yes, I'm sorry. It's been a really hard week for him. I'm gonna take him home to get some rest.
Will stumbles to get up. I'm really sorry. Will is frantic.
Go home and get that rest, sweetie. You look more worrying than the last time I saw you.
She walks away. Heather looks up at Will.
When were you here last?
I don't remember. She must be thinking of someone else. Heather cocks her head.
Are you sure?
Fuck if I'm sure of anything anymore. Will walks away. Heather looks to the table and sees Will's phone. She walks over to pick it up and looks over at Will leaving the library. Heather opens the phone and places her hand over her mouth. Her eyes begin to water. Exterior, library, night. Will sits down using his e-cigarette as he checks his watch. 3:45 p.m. Will looks up to the stars. The hell? Will stands up and turns to open the door. A sign is on the glass that reads, "Reopens tomorrow at 9 a.m. Will is baffled. He starts pounding on the door. Hello? Hey! Is anyone here? He keeps pounding on the door. Will turns away from the door to look around. No one is on the street. He turns back to the glass door to see the blind man with scissors in his eyes from the cemetery. Will screams and falls back. When he looks again, it's just a normal librarian.
Sir, we are closed. Come back tomorrow.
No, you don't understand. My friend is in there. Her name is Heather. Did you see her leave?
Sir, I told you before, we are closed. Your friend can't be in here.
I didn't see her leave. Please, can you wait here while I call her? Will looks for his phone. Shit.
Sir.
Ma'am, please, I left my phone in there. Could you see if it's on the table we were sitting at?
I'm sorry, we don't have your phone. Come back tomorrow.
She walks away. Wait, you can't do this. I need that phone to get home. No response. He pounds on the glass. Hello? He looks around, no one in sight. Fuck! He goes down the steps and begins to walk the sidewalk. Exterior, street, night. The street is empty. Heavy fog is covering it. Will can barely see a hand in front of his face. The light of the moon is accompanied by the flickering of the streetlights. Faint whispers can be heard in the distance. Will walks down the sidewalk while smoking. Out of the fog, Simon emerges wearing a hat, coat, and an unlit cigar. Slowly he stalks as Will grows more and more paranoid. Simon sparks a match and lights his cigar. Will turns around to see what it was. Simon submerges into the fog. Will is breathing heavily. He turns back around and Simon re-emerges closer than before. Simon follows him for a moment. Takes a drag of the cigar and blows it on Will's neck before disappearing once more. Will turns around faster than before. Where are you? Will continues down the foggy street. In the fog, Will hears the sounds of stretching ropes. Before he could wonder what it was, 3 ropes fly from the unknown and wrap around Will and begin to pull him into the alley. Exterior, alley, night. The girl doesn't gasp, but the rope man grows louder and louder as the ropes drag Will closer and closer to it. Why? Just tell me why! The rope man puts his head down. Will looks towards the entrance of the alley. In walks Simon. He takes a long drag of his cigar and kneels down to Will, who is shutting his own eyes.
Look at me.
Will ignores Simon. Simon takes another drag of his cigar.
Look at me.
Will opens his eyes. Simon stares and smiles. Will is terrified, confused, and livid. Simon gets up and walks away. Just tell me what you want, you sick fuck. Why won't you leave me alone?
Why are you asking me?
Will feels the ropes untangling. The rope man shambles away. Will is alone in the foggy, dark alleyway. In the distance, Will sees something or someone walking towards him. Heather? The figure says nothing and walks closer. Will soon realizes this is definitely not Heather. It's Silo, a humanoid-looking creature with no arms, neck, or head, but a naked corpse-like torso and legs of a voluptuous woman. Its curvy figure is the exact same as Heather's. When it comes close enough to be completely seen, a sideways mouth opens up between the creature's breasts, exposing sharp teeth and blood pouring from the opening. The mouth screams as Will turns around and frantically runs away. Silo sprints towards Will, roaring and mimicking Heather.
I know you want me, Will. Come take me! Come take me!
Will runs into a dead end and turns around to see Silo charging full speed at him. Will puts his hands up and screams before Silo spontaneously explodes, covering Will and the surrounding environment with a black and red liquid. Will sits up. He begins to walk to where he was dragged in. The fog is so thick that he can't see more than an inch away from his own face. It gets louder. Will puts his hands out to guide him. Louder and louder. Will comes across a wall blocking the path he entered from. On the wall, written in blood, illuminated by a gas lantern on the floor, reads, "Many yous, many me's. What can't I touch, what can't I see? 0539295." The beeping is now unbearably loud and noticeably more frequent. Will looks down near the lantern. There lies the broken, bloodied corpse of Heather. The beeping is louder and so frequent, it almost sounds like one long, high-pitched tone. Will falls backwards and screams, "No, no, no!" The beeping stops. From behind him appears the Twisted Doctor, who begins to sprint after Will. The beeping begins again. Will sprints down the alley of seemingly endless fog. Will turns around and checks behind him. Will sees a light ahead of him. Will sprints even faster, using all the strength he has left. He runs into the nearest building for shelter. He bursts through the door and into darkness and trips. Interior, nightmare house, living room. Night. He groans as he struggles to stand. Once he fully stands up, he looks around. Hello? Will hears an electrical buzz in the distance. What the? The lights turn on. Surrounding Will are glass walls. Banging on the wall is Hirno, a human-like creature with dehydrated dead skin and no hair. It has a pair of hands protruding from its eyes, reaching to cover its ears. It bangs on the glass with its head. Will jumps up and begins to pound on the glass. After a while, the glass disappears, and he falls through. The creature stops screaming to look at where the glass was, and to Will. The creature starts screaming again, and Will runs off into a pair of locked double doors and hits the floor. Interior, Heather's house, day. Will emerges from the double doors into Heather's living room. Will looks around frantically. Oh, what the fuck? Heather bursts through the front door and slams it behind her. Heather? Heather approaches Will, punches him on the cheek.
Fuck you!
Will holds his cheek, still in a panic-induced freakout. What the hell is going on? Heather cocks her head.
Oh, don't you dare pull that shit this time! You know exactly what you did!
What time is it? What day is this? She picks up a vase and walks towards Will with it. He puts up his hands in defense and closes his eyes. When he opens them, Heather is on the floor, weeping, holding the vase. Will's breathing is rapid. Insert, remember, written on the wall. Remember? He starts looking around. Remember what? Will looks at Heather on the floor, comforts her. Heather. She wipes her eyes and looks at him. Tell me what is going on, please.
Can't you just be normal?
She drops the vase.
Will left me. As if you were a freak out on him. He made me choose. Congratulations. You win.
Will stares. She exits into her bedroom. Will sits on the couch and takes a deep breath. That's it. I'm nuts. You hear a crash and a bang coming from Heather's room. Will sprints after her. Interior, twisted prison, cell block, night. When he swings open the door, he emerges in what looks to be a prisoner's cell. The door shuts behind him and turns into a concrete wall. Will struggles with the door until he hears a loud bang in the distance. Will sits back against the wall. He hears the sounds of heavy chains dragging across the floor. As he hides in the darkness, he sees Sino, a man-like creature with gouged out eyes, leaking blood, and 2 broken arms, chained to cinder blocks. The creature moans in pain as it drags the chains in front of Will's cell. The creature turns to Will and starts moaning like a sad dog. Will stands up and steps closer to the creature. It continues to cry while facing him. What happened to you? He takes a step back in fear. No, I won't hurt you. The creature whines in confusion. The cell door opens. Will hesitates to leave, but inevitably winds up following Sino down the hall. The hall is filled with empty cells and looks like it hasn't had maintenance in centuries. A patch on the ceiling begins to break and is about to fall on Sino. Will grabs his chains and pulls him backwards. Sino screams as the ceiling falls in front of him. The poor blind creature is looking around. Will walks in front of it. Follow my footsteps, okay? Sino keeps trying to look Will in the eye. Interior, twisted prison, hallway, night. Sino is following Will, dragging its chains behind. Sino starts to moan loudly. Will gets worried. What's wrong? What's wrong? It starts crying loudly and panicking. Will hears the sounds of twisting rope and gurgling. Will starts to panic as well. Come on, we have to turn around. Sino starts to yell. Will turns it around and starts to lead it down the hall. Mysteriously, Sino gets caught in a newly existing tar pit. It starts to scream and sink. Heather can be heard in the distance.
Will, help!
Will turns down the hall in the direction of Heather. He's desperately trying to pull Sino out of the tar while looking back at where Heather's voice is coming from.
They're coming! Help, Will, please!
Will looks at Sino while he is sinking. I'm sorry. He starts running away. I'm so sorry! Sino screams as he gets sucked into the floor. Ropes float and twist around him. Meanwhile, Will notices a pair of doors at the end of the hall where Heather's voice is coming from and starts towards it at full sprint. He swings open the doors and runs through. He opens it and a pair of car headlights flies towards him and hits him dead on. Interior, hospital, patient room, day. Will jolts awake from a hospital bed. He's wearing a green hospital gown and an identification tag on his wrist. Will looks around the room. The room is all white. It's bare, aside from a small bed next to a nightstand supporting a pot of flowers. The fuck? He looks at his identification tag and then touches his head to look for blood. Not a drop to be found. The door opens and a nurse steps through holding a clipboard. Nurse Azine.
All right, Will. Time for lunch.
Will stares blankly.
Well, come on.
Will slowly gets up. Interior, hospital, hallway, day. As they walk through the corridor of barred doors, they can hear the screams, cries, and laughter of the other inmates. Nurse?
Yes, dear?
Where am I? Is Heather here? She's a friend of mine, and I need to get a hold of her.
Right now, you are with me. We are on our way to the cafeteria. After the bell rings, you will meet with Dr. Azir. That is all you need to worry about.
There must be some sort of mistake. I don't remember anything. Please, I need to call Heather.
Of course you don't, dear. You don't have to right now. Again, we told you to try not talking about her.
This has to be in my head. There's no way this is happening. Nurse Azine stops and turns to Will.
Maybe instead of focusing on whether this is in your head or not, you should try figuring out what it all means.
Will stares blankly.
Make sure you find and place every piece of the puzzle before you judge how clear the picture is. Otherwise, you'll never get the right answer.
What on earth are you talking about?
Right this way, Will.
Interior, hospital, cafeteria, day. The nurse and Will enter, and most everyone in there makes straight eye contact with Will. Why are they all staring at me? Will turns for Nurse Azine's response, but she is nowhere to be seen. Will takes a deep breath and walks to the nearest empty table. Everyone continues to stare. Interior, hospital, doctor's office, day. Will is sitting on a chair in front of the desk of Dr. Azir.
How are you feeling today?
Confused, to tell you the truth. Could you please tell me what's going on here? I left. Why am I back?
Today is our Wednesday 3:30 meeting.
Will leans in closer with both hands on his face. Doctor, you don't understand. I don't know how I got here, when I got here, why I'm here. I'm starting to question whether or not I'm real at this point.
Will, did you forget again?
Yes, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Will, can you tell me what you do remember?
Will lays back in his chair, mentally and physically tired. He tries his hardest to dig into his memories with no help. Will grabs his head and screams. What the fuck is going on? Will remembers very quick images of his experience in the alley. The memories of Silo and the roped man cause him to shudder in disgust. Will looks up to the doctor. Doctor, why am I here? The doctor takes off his glasses and takes a deep breath. He stands up and looks out the window.
We here at Brookamilla stand for the goal of mending the most important part of anyone's body.
Dr. Azir turns to Will.
The mind. When you were brought to us, it was apparent that there were a few problems that needed addressing. Nothing is wrong with you or your character. I want to make that clear. But a delusional mind can be very dangerous to its owner. It can cause you or others to get hurt. We care too much to let that happen.
Will stares at the ground. Will is just fully numb at this point. Delusional?
Do you remember what you were saying when they found you?
No. No, I don't.
You don't remember the roped man.
Will flashes back to being pulled by the gurgling creature's ropes.
The demon?
Will flashes back to being face to face with Simon.
The body you found?
Will flashes back to the mangled corpse of Heather. Who brought me here?
Will, would you believe me if I told you we have had this conversation 10 times?
Will's eyes widen.
11.
How long have I been here? The doctor takes a sip of his drink.
10 days. And today's session shows me that the treatments we've been trying out is having little to no effect on you.
Please, doctor, I just need to know exactly what happened. The doctor takes a sip of his drink once more and gestures for Will to sit on the couch behind him. Will moves to the chair of Dr. Azir's choice, and the doctor sits in the adjacent one.
3 years ago, 2 of your friends were killed in a drunk driving accident.
I remember that.
I know. You were in the back seat and you miraculously survived the crash. Unsurprisingly, something snapped in you, causing a deep down spiraling depression. You didn't leave your house for 2 weeks.
But the doctor holds up his hand.
Please let me finish. Would you like some water?
Will nods, and the doctor grabs a cup from his desk, then hands it to him.
After the depression, you left to visit your mother's grave. As you were talking to her, you began to hear voices. They were telling you to do terrible things. However, 4 days ago, you confessed to me. You've been hearing the voices for quite a while.
The doctor points to the cup in Will's hands.
Please, drink.
Will takes a sip.
There you found the grave of Simon A. Trill. You told me you were oddly drawn to it, almost as if it was calling you. You then developed an obsession.
Possession, right?
No, obsession. You went to the library and stayed there for 6 hours reading the same book, trying to soak up all information you possibly could about this man. You then began to believe he was haunting you, causing all of the bad in your life. Will, you took on another personality through this man. It was no longer you who committed the horrible acts, it was Simon. You forgot about everything you've done. Everything you felt guilty about. Clean slate.
Will is shaking, staring at the floor. What did I do?
You murdered your friends, Will. You poisoned them both before you all got in the car.
Will lifts his head. He's noticeably angry. You're lying. This can't be true. He stands up off the couch. What are you trying to do? Make me confess to a crime I didn't commit? Accuse me of murder? Those are my best friends since middle school. Why in the hell would I hurt them? The doctor gets up and walks to his desk. What are you doing? Answer me, damn it! The doctor takes a tape recorder out of his drawer and closes it. The doctor sits back down in his chair across from the couch and hits play. Will listens. I killed them. Doctor, I killed them both and I hate myself. I don't know why I did it. Please, please help me. Help me, God, please! Make these horrors stop! The doctor pauses the tape. I don't...
That's why this world, this inferior world, as you've called it, is always different. The people you meet rapidly changing personalities, going way beyond dramatic to make up for the lack of emotions you feel in yourself. The locations and situations you experience completely transforming at random. When panicked, our minds race, run from certain topics to sprint towards others. It thinks it needs to be in panic mode. Ironically enough, logic has very little resonance.
Will looks confused and scared. He looks at Will intensely.
It's all in your mind, Will.
He walks over and puts a hand on Will's shoulder.
I know. This is a lot. You've never taken this news lightly. Some days you show remorse and sadness. Others you show anger and accomplishment. I've taken to telling you these things every day I see you. Sometimes I don't even need the tape. Strangely enough, you've been so guilty that you've added to your false accidents. That you've inadvertently killed a small child. There was no family, there was no child. This is all still confusing to you because you haven't been taking your meds, Will. We found them under your pillow.
Will whips his head up to look at Dr. Azir. What did you just say? A small grin starts to grow on Will's face.
I said we found your meds under your pillow. We trusted you to take them on your own and you lied to us.
Will starts laughing like a madman, well past his final broken straw. The doctor stares in confusion.
Is there something I missed?
A hospital like this wouldn't trust a guy like me? If anything you said was true, then you would stay to watch me take my meds and check afterwards. The doctor chuckles to himself and cleans his glasses with his shirt. This isn't real! This is just another one of your stupid fucking tricks! Will laughs even harder. He stands up and starts spinning around with his hands cupped to his mouth. I figured this one out, you son of a bitch! Nice try!
Please sit down.
I could just walk out of here. I could just get right up and leave because none of this is real.
Do you really want to try that again?
What, will the monsters get me? I'm used to them by now, and they won't kill me because he needs me alive.
And why is that? To keep killing your friends and yourself? Will, take a damn look at yourself. Wasn't your friends enough? What about Jacob? Heather?
Heather, you don't fucking mention her. Do you have her? Does he have her?
Will, calm down.
Calm down? Where the hell is she?
You killed her, Will.
Will locks up.
She's dead. You killed her and her fiancé. You've told me this 6 times already.
Then why aren't I in jail? This all makes no sense.
Will, you need to take your medicine. This time I will watch and make sure you do it.
You can take your pills and shove them up your ass. I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. The doctor stands up with the pills in his hands and starts to walk towards him.
Will, you need to take...
Medicine.
Will runs out of the door and enters into the same room he just exited earlier. Interior, twisted doctor's office. Night. The door is gone. The lights flicker before shutting off. I knew it! I knew it! Come on out, you bastard! Simon appears and Will immediately swings at him. Along with Simon came a dark red light illuminating the hellish version of the room, decay and gore decorating the walls, along with skinned faces framed in place of certificates.
that far away?
I'm ready for you. You're not gonna break me. The light shines in the desk, illuminating a letter opener. Will goes to grab it. Simon appears behind Will and lunges at him. Will turns around and stabs Simon as quickly and as many times as possible. Interior hospital, doctor's office, day. When Will takes a look at the now fresh corpse, he realizes this isn't the body of a demon. This is the body of Dr. Azir. What did I do? What did I do? Will gets up and runs out of the door and into the cafeteria. Interior, hospital, cafeteria, day. Will busts through the door in a panic. Help! Help! There's been an accident! As if he said nothing at all, not a soul reacts. Can anyone hear me? Will notices one girl sitting across the room making direct eye contact. Her lips quiver as if she's desperately trying to speak but could not. What is happening? Will's lips melt into themselves, causing his scream to sound completely muffled. From behind him, the twisted doctor grabs Will and pries his mouth open, ripping the skin apart. Will screams in agony. In its hand are a mixture of pills and maggots. Will manages to get away and he turns to the people in the eerie cafeteria. All of them are standing straight up and staring in his general direction. Their eyes and mouths have been melted shut. Will runs down the hall. Terror Hospital, blood hallway, day. Blood starts pouring from the barred windows atop the doors on each side of the wall. Will slips and hits his head on the floor. Lights are flickering frantically, and the sounds of distant screams, cries, and laughter are absolutely surrounding. Will picks himself up and tries to run, causing himself to slip once more. Will crawls down the now almost flooded hall and reaches the door to the cell he woke up in. He uses the handle to pull himself up and pushes on the door until it swings open. He rushes in and slams the door shut behind him. Interior hospital, patient's room, day. He takes a few deep breaths before turning around. When he does, he finds himself staring him in the eyes, inches from his face. Shaved, bruised, and broken, Will 1 stares for a few seconds before Will 2 turns around and walks to the bed to lay down. Will 1 looks at the walls. Drawings of the creatures he's encountered cover the walls. Black lines counting the days are above the bed. There are 539 lines. The door opens behind Will 1. Dr. Azir walks in.
How are you feeling today, Will?
I still don't know what's real.
We know. One can't expect to be helped so soon. You need to cooperate with us. You need to accept what you've done.
How do I know if I've actually done it? How do I know you're real? Am I supposed to just take your word for it? Simon has been putting me in countless torturous situations. How do I know this one is reality?
This demon you've created is just a figment. An illusion to shroud the darkness in your mind. A target for your pointed finger. If you wish to be well, you need to accept what you've done.
The lights turn off and turn back on to reveal a completely different setting. Interior, the tunnel, day. Will arrives in a tube-like hallway without windows or doors. At the end of the hall, a television turns on. It seems to be several yards away. Will begins to walk towards it. As he walks towards it, he hears whispers in the darkness to his left and right. The television turns on with a loud static, a news report with a news anchor. A professional news anchor from the normal world giving a report begins to play. Will watches as he walks closer and closer.
The suspect was taken into custody outside of Lions Pride Library this afternoon after photos taken of the victim's grisly murder were discovered on his phone, as well as evidence proving this killer is responsible for the victim found dead in the Sparrow Street alleyway. The individual who discovered the photos refuses to speak with us and has considered checking herself into a hospital to help her mental state. She hasn't spoken to anyone since.
The TV turns to static. Will goes to sit down, and before he falls backwards, a chair appears where he needs it. The TV displays Heather.
Well,
Will looks up with a look of pure, exhausted defeat.
you promised me you wouldn't hurt me. You promised you'd do anything to protect me. Why didn't you?
Will's face remains with the same emotionless look with tears on his cheek.
I'm hurt, Will. You hurt me, Will. You hurt me, Will. You hurt me, Will.
He stands up and turns it off, enveloping himself in pure, comforting darkness. A match sparks, and Simon appears, lighting a cigar.
What do you believe now?
Will looks to the floor. I'm done. Do what you want with me. Simon steps back and begins to breathe deeply. The breathing turns to growling, and he shouts at Will.
Where's the fun in that? You're not stopping now.
Haven't I killed enough?
Ah,
Simon walks around Will.
so you are believing it.
What? What do you mean?
Oh, we haven't even started. How do you even know this is real?
Simon disappears. Will sits in darkness. All Will could hear is his own heavy breathing as he begins to sob. Can I really be a murderer? In the distance, Heather can be heard.
Will, help! Help me, please!
Will starts shaking in anger.
Will, please! They tied me up! We don't have much time!
Shut up! Please, God, just shut the fuck up! This isn't real! You aren't here!
Will, please! Do you hate me? I need you right now. Why don't you love me anymore?
Will starts to wobble. His knees are weak. He kneels down to catch himself from falling, closes his eyes tight, and screams at the top of his lungs.
Here they come, Will! They're knocking the door down!
A light illuminates in front of Will. A door has opened at the end of the hall.
Please, I don't want to die!
Through tears, Will yells back, "You aren't real!" Will looks at the open door. Heather starts screaming in pain. Will is walking towards the door. Her screams of pain and terror grow louder.
Help me! Please, God, why aren't you helping me? They said they would stop if you came. Make them stop!
Will screams two words with such power it almost collapses him. I can't! He screams back once more, this time putting every ounce of his anger, sadness, and guilt and aggravation into it. He yells so hard he can't even stand up straight while shouting back, "I'm sorry!" When he stands back up, he sees the roped man standing in his way. The hallway is stretched to become longer. Will moves forward and walks past him. He walks past the rope man, the twisted doctor, and Hirno as they twitch and stare at him. Right before reaching the door to the light, Simon appears behind him. Heather continues screaming.
You said you loved her, Will. Why don't you go to her?
You said it yourself. She doesn't need me, you do. Will continues to the door. The door slams shut before he can go through it.
Will. Please.
Simon's voice has lost its booming echo and haunting deep pitch. Will turns around.
You can't go back to how things were. Don't you remember how lost and scared you were? If you go out there, you won't like what you find.
Will just stares at him.
We need each other, Will. Won't survive without me. I won't survive without you. Please.
Will takes a breath. It's over, Simon. The door opens in front of Will yet again. Simon begins to yell, his voice now more booming and hellish than before. His eyes a fiery yellow and flames pour from his mouth as he yells.
I will never stop! So you hear me, you fucking cunt! I will follow you for as long as it takes! I will kill everyone you love! Come back here right now, or everyone you meet will fucking suffer what you are doing to Heather right now!
Will turns his head. Goodbye, Simon.
Damn you! Damn you to the hell you've created! Your suffering will be endless!
Will walks to the door, and we fade to white. Interior hospital room. Morning. Will wakes up in the hospital bed from before. His head shaved, his body bruised. He walks over to the small window and takes a look outside. Facility art room. Day. Will is drawing a picture. Day 5 of a monster not living inside of me. Will is leaving the facility's library as they close. The door has a sign that reads, "Will reopen at 9 a.m. It feels as though this is the first time I've been me, and not the Zorak. Will wanders around the grounds. It has finally stopped talking to me in my mind. I can finally write without it telling me to stop because we have work to do. Will sketches in his journal. I no longer need to hurt anyone anymore. Simon is dead now. Although he almost killed me, I felt complete without him. He was comforting. But to this day, I still don't know what was real and what wasn't. Will glances over to the picture of him and Heather on the nightstand. A nurse comes in and turns out the lights. I'm finally free. Interior Hospital, Will's room, day. A nurse steps into the room to wake Will up.
Will, time to get up. Come on.
Will yawns, rubs his eyes, and gets up to follow her. Interior Hospital, hallway, day. She and Will walk down the hallway and everything is oddly quiet. Why is it so quiet today? Will turns, but the nurse is nowhere to be found. Will continues on to the cafeteria alone and stops in his tracks at the threshold. Will looks shocked and confused. The cafeteria is transformed to that of a prison. Interior prison cafeteria, day. Will looks down. He is now wearing an orange jumpsuit. An alarm sounds unbearably loud. Will cuffs his hands over his ears and falls to the floor. A voice on an intercom can be heard.
Prisoner escaped. Fugitive in dining area.
Will looks up, and several prison guards are holding guns pointed towards him. Will is panicked and scared. I didn't do anything! The nurse told me to follow her! A prison warden walks up to Will.
Hold him.
2 guards hold Will's arms. What did I do? What is going on? Please, sir, can you help me? The warden hits Will in the face with a nightstick. Will starts crying as he can barely stand up. The warden leans in.
That was for my brother, his kids, and his widow, you fucking lunatic.
Will just looks up at him, confused and defeated. The warden leans in closer.
You may have a few people in here fooled, but not me. You're a murderer.
Will starts shaking his head.
Oh yes, yes you are. You can act all innocent all you want like you're just some scared kid getting attacked by the boogeyman.
Will looks him in the eyes. I'm so sorry. The warden looks him up and down.
I'm not.
He turns around.
Alright, let's give prisoner 0539295 some quality time with the boogeyman. 2 months in the hole.
Will starts to panic as they drag him away. Interior prison. Solitary confinement room, day. Will gets thrown in. He gets up, turns around, and tries to run to the door, which slams shut in his face. Will begins pulling and banging on the door, growing more and more rage with each failed attempt. Let me out! I didn't do anything! Where's Heather? What the fuck did you do to Heather? As he continues on, his eyes turn the same color as Simon's. He screams with all the power left in his body. Interior prison cell block, day. An unsettling buzz signals the opening of the cell doors. As the bars move to the right, a bald Will with skin almost transparent, it's so pale at this point, stands holding his belongings. The guards begin checking the rooms of the various prisoners. Will awaits his turn with a slight smirk. The guard approaches Will and pushes him to the side without making eye contact. Interior prison cafeteria, day. Prisoners eat their daily portion of troughed fillings, while Will stares forward from the back of the room. Will stands up and walks over to the guard in the corner of the room. Excuse me, sir.
The fuck do you want?
Will retrieves a shiv from his pants and slits the guard's throat with it. As the guard goes down, he grabs his gun and opens fire into the crowd, killing the guards in the room. Clip empties, and Will charges into the middle of the room with his shiv, stabbing and cutting anyone he sees. The prisoners overthrow him and begin to beat him to death. Will laughs until the blood fills his lungs, and he dies. A barely visible shadow flies from his body into another prisoner's body. That prisoner begins to murder the closest person next to him until the others notice. They pile on top of him until he can't breathe anymore, and the shadow flies into the next. The warden enters the cafeteria with a team of 5 men holding AR-15 guns.
Everyone, sit the fuck down or I will order my men to open fire.
The shadow splits into smaller shadows and fly into every prisoner, causing them to stop movement immediately. The prisoners slowly stand up and turn towards the guards and the warden.
Sit the fuck down!
The prisoners charge at the guards as they open fire. Bodies drop like flies and blood paints the already soaked walls. Prisoner bites the warden's neck out before getting shot in the head. The shadows exit their body and fly straight up and away. The chaos stops. The prisoners look at each other and themselves for a second in confusion before the remaining guards gun them down. Exterior, cemetery, day. Heather approaches the grave in the evening of an autumn day. The area is as silent as the dead, peaceful. As Heather stares at this slab of stone, she begins to feel all of the emotions she can at one time. Anger, fear, sadness, regret. Insert Will Cartland, 1994-2020. A tear runs down her cheek as she kicks the tombstone in an effort to break it in two.
Why the fuck did it have to be you?
She puts her head in her hands and weeps. She kicks the stone one more time.
Why did it have to be you?
She collapsed in front of the grave.
I loved you.
Heather. Her head turns to her left. She stands up.